The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for this little late of 5 minutes delay, but we're gonna start immediately our webinar about designing electrical systems with Revit. This session will be recorded, so you'll be able to get the recording after the webinar. If you look on the tool on the web on the software that is being used for this webinar, you can see that you can also ask questions. So please, if you find some questions, if you have some questions during the webinar, please ask them, write them down, and I'll try to answer them at the end of the webinar. We have only 1 hour for this webinar, so I will try to dedicate last 15, maybe 10 minutes for the questions. Okay, so electrical systems in Revit. So if you look on the, I assume that all of you that are participating in this webinar have some familiarity, are familiar with Revit, so you know what kind of tool is this. So just to avoid some truism, and I will just start off directly from tools dedicated for electrical systems. So if you click on this system tab, you will see that we have an entire tab dedicated for electrical systems, an entire section of Revit tools dedicated for electrical systems in Revit. And during this webinar, you also find out that there are some, what are the, limitations, what are the, nice features, and what are the limitations of this, Revit tool. What we have to remember, maybe from the very beginning, is that okay, now sorry, I was not sharing this. I was not sharing the screen right now. I hope that you can hear me. Sorry, we have some technical problems. Hopefully we will solve them very. Okay, now I see that everyone sees my screen. Sorry for that. For the moment we had technical problems, but now everything is good. Okay, so as you could see here, we have this. I'm going to present electrical features using Revit 2019. I will, as you could see here we have this tabs dedicated for electrical systems. And what you have to remember from the very beginning is that here in Revit is not a tool to design electrical schemes, right? It is exclusively to, equip your building with electrical elements, and they of course will create some logical logical systems, of course, so they look at each other, if I can say so. However, Revit is not a tool for a schematic design, right? Or to be more precise, it doesn't have dedicated tools for schematic designs. Okay, now another very important thing that you have to know is that, especially for you that start using Revit for electrical design, you have to remember that what is very, very important is to have a prepared, ready-to-use so-called template. Template is a starting file that allows you, that contains some important elements like, lighting fixtures, switches, sockets, electrical, panel boards, and so on. So what we have to remember is that, of course, these elements are very, very dependent on the local standards, right? So in Romania, you will use some Romanian elements, right? In Poland, I'm broadcasting from Poland, Warsaw, Poland, I will be using some Polish elements. So, but the thing is that if you want to start using Revit, and if you want to start using these templates, so to these elements, these Revit families, okay, Revit families, right from right from the beginning, and you don't want to, and you want to get something which is already available for free on the internet, what I can recommend you is to go to, if you type in on Google Autodesk Revit 2019 content, you'll be directed to the homepage on knowledgeautodesk.com, where you can download for free different libraries from different countries. Okay, so what I can recommend you, especially for those of you that want to start, okay, and or maybe not for those, anyways. So the thing is that what you have to remember is that if you start like a standard English template, these families very often will have settings which are, let's say, not European. So for example, 120 volts, okay? So families and panel boards and all this equipment which is prepared to be, let's say, used in 120 volts environment, okay? So what, to make the story short, what I can recommend you is to scroll down and download one of these German templates, German sets of families. Some, like for example, if you look on this libraries BIM, this is a huge set of libraries which you can use for free, and they are, let's say, they're very rich in parameters, and they are working in, let's say, in European standards. Okay, if you look, you can also select some other countries, but the thing is that unfortunately we don't have Romanian setting here. If there is something here on this section, this is just an American template translated into Romanian, but maybe this one is Romanian. Oh yes, this is one Romanian, but this is just a translation from the American families. So unfortunately we have to deal with the fact that if you want to start using electrical systems in Revit, and you want to use something which is available for free, you have to use one of these. Okay, so this is very important, because you will not be able to use a electrical. You will not be able to design anything in any electrical system if you do not have a correct set of families. Okay, so what you can see here, of course, I want to have, I already have some building here, very simple one. It has just, a couple of it has just three rooms. But what you can see here is also, I have added, I'm not going to step into much detail, but what I have added here is that I added a color fill legend. Okay, and this color fill legend, if I go to edit scheme, it has basically set a parameter called average estimated illumination. This is a set of, let's say, this is a parameter which is basically, if you hit here, by the way, these are, which is also very important, these are spaces, these are not rooms, because if you go to system, sorry, like here, if you go here, room, right, this is, room has much less information than a space. And if you go to sorry, here, sorry, analyze, here you can use space, right? And these spaces have much more. They also contain, for example, the areas and so on, but what they contain also as well is the average estimated illumination, for example, one of these parameters. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to set some lighting fixtures here in these rooms, and you can see how far you can go with design. So I'm going to go to systems, I'm going to go to lighting fixtures, and one of the things that you have to remember while placing the lighting fixtures, to understand how this family is done. So first of all, as you can see here, now I have like a this sign which prevents me from placing this family. But what you have to do is to be sure that how this family is done, right? So evidently this family, this lighting fixture, cannot be placed on a face, so I have to change to place on the work plane. And now what is super important is that I need to somehow understand what kind of offset I have, because look, if I place just this lighting fixture somewhere here, okay, by the way, please note that the color change because the system immediately recognizes that this lighting fixture has some it has some, not power, but some efficiency, right? So it gives me some already some some data in luxes, right? So this in this room average illumination is 42 luxes, right? So what if I open this in 3D? You can see that I have already placed this in 3D, right? And this parameter, because if this was 0, for example, my light would stay on the floor. Because if you open, you know, the floor, and if I, by the way, if I look, yeah, so basically, if you look on the side, you can see that the Revit space is described, is basically defined by these floors, right? So if I open my 0 floor and I place my lighting fixture, it's basically laying on the ground. So if I put it 2,800 millimeters, if you're not satisfied with the units, you can always change them from here. And I have my lighting fixtures placed here. Okay, before I start to place, you know, to create some, you know, electrical system, before I start to create some set of elements, what I need to understand is, again, I click on my family and you see that it has 230 30 volts and 48 volt amperes, right? And if I edit this family, you can see that it has some BIM information, building information modeling, right? So one of these things that you see here, it looks like a bee's nest. This is something which you can find here on the top, and this is photometric web file. Okay, so this basically some lighting fixtures maybe basically if you hit here, you can find, if you hit on this lighting source, light source distribution, you can define that if you want to have a photometric web or maybe some, let's say, hemispherical, like very manual described lighting fixtures, lighting diffusion. Okay, because this photometric file, which you define here, okay, this is a IES file, and this IES file can be downloaded from the internet, from the let's say homepage of a manufacturer of lighting fixtures. And in these files you have like a very realistic way of how this light is being dispersed in a diffused in a room, right? Another very important thing about Revit families for the electrical, and what is important is that if you, of course, you can create these families on your own, but what is important that if you download, for example, this German template, you have all these settings already done. Okay, you have a lot of families which are already prepared for you, and you don't have to create them and change, you know, all this, let's say, electrical settings from, let's say, imperial settings to metric settings, to continental settings. What is also important is that we have here, this is the connector element. So basically this allows us to connect this lighting fixture to a system, and basically it has some, you know, information here described which makes this like, you know, like voltage, and you have to, you know, that's the truth, that some of these parameters are written in German, because of course I have downloaded the German template, but at least if you use a little bit of, so you have to choose if you want to use an English one and change manually later on these parameters, or use German one, which may be, for those of you that don't speak German, it will be quite a little bit difficult to understand, but anyways, this is already ready to use, right? Okay, so this is my family. I'm not gonna change anything in this family. I'm just gonna start placing maybe, one more important thing is that, remember that Revit allows you, you know, to do things like, you know, I can, for example, quite very easily block this reference, right? So this can be blocked, and now no one will basically use, and this light will remain in the same location, let's say in the same offset, 1.20 meters from the side of the wall. Okay, so I click my lighting system, my lighting fixture, and I hit on similar. Okay, create similar. And again, place on work plane. And now I can start placing more and more and more and more lights. I'm not gonna place them too many. What you can do here is align them horizontally, okay, and align them, well, you can, right, so I cannot move them. Okay, but anyways, these are like the Revit standard procedures. Maybe let me also align them here so you can see how it works. Again, right, here I can type 1 point. So it's very, very easy to design, right? Then I can also do something like, let me, I'm using tab right now to select multiple elements, and now you can, for example, you know, maintain always equal distances between these lights. And if I align them also, anyways, this is Revit, right? So what is also important is that this is of course being calculated. It's weird, I cannot move it. Anyways, so everything I place in the space is being basically so this space is being basically is calculating the let's say the BIM information from the lighting fixture and is basically placing it in, and basically I can visualize. So I have like a very like a strong visual aspect impact of what I see. And of course, if I start placing these lights here, for example, okay, or here, I'm not gonna place them too many, but okay. So please note that immediately this is being basically it's giving me also the other colors, right? So I can immediately have this like visual aspect of how many average illumination factor I have in every space. Okay, so next thing I want to do is if you hit on one of these elements, one of the lighting fixtures, any element which is basically has the electrical connector, you can create a power circuit. Okay, power circuit, and I can you know edit circuit, and I can start adding more and more elements, like 6 lighting fixtures. Okay, what I'm missing here is of course the panel. So let me close this fixture. By the way, if I hit with the tab, it sees already basically the my system, right? So it knows that it is already in some set. What is also very nice is that here, if you go right click on anywhere on your canvas and you go to browsers, you can also turn on system browsers. Okay, and please note that I already see that I have something like one electrical system, one power system, okay, which belongs to a there's some lights, right? But of course there's, so basically this system browser already telling me what kind of systems I have, right? How many of them I have on my project. Another thing which I can do now is I can do systems. I can go to here, select electrical equipment, and here I can see already that with this German template I already have some panels, electrical panels, which I can, let me place it somewhere. It's not wall base or face base. It's just I can just with the space I can rotate it. I can also make some offsets, so it's like 1 meter from the ground. Let me maybe put it. Yeah, let's put it here. Okay. So if you open the 3D view, okay, you can see that this is nothing else but a box. Okay, it's has very simple geometry. If I edit a family, okay, I can see that it has some, again, electrical connector, which is more, let's say, which has been prepared for this kind of elements, like a panel boards. so it has a little bit has higher voltage and so on, and power, whatever. There are the electrical settings which you can set here in, which is not really related to a family, but related to a connector. Okay, and this is again what I want to repeat. This is Revit is not meant to design a. So if you want to design this panel board, this electrical board, this panel, Revit is not the right tool. Okay, so it's just, let's say, it has just a volumetry and this connector, right? So you cannot really design it in detail as panel board. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna open my floor plan again. I'm gonna edit my circuit. Okay, select panel, add to panel, and it's already added. So okay, this is already in a system. Okay, so next thing I can do is let me add some sockets, because there's another thing which you can add to it. So I'm gonna go to systems, device. Okay. I'm gonna select lightning. Okay, and here I have again we have to remember that, okay, this is the, no, sorry, this is the switch. So let me select a so these are the lights. Okay, here I have all the lights, and here I should to have also the, no, I'm good. Here's your device, electrical fixture. Sorry, I didn't notice that this is the first one. So if you go to electrical fixture, you can see that I have my again also my my sockets, and what, of course, again, this is all about what kind of families you have loaded into your template. I have here something very, very cool, because I have like really 3D. Okay, so I can see them really in 3D, also in my axonometric view. And again, if I, by the way, if I change the here, I can change the level of detail, so I can also see them as maybe here I have this offset of my symbol, but anyways, I can also see them as in a symbolic way. Okay, let me place another one maybe here, and what you can see here is that if I change, for example, from 3 sockets to 2 sockets, okay, it changes automatically. So it's parametric, right? And again, if I open this family, you can see that it has some geometry, but very simple one, and has the connector, and this is all about it, right? So I don't have, let's say, anything more here, except, and this is it has a lot of parameters, which allows me to basically to control if it's a, you know, one single socket, 2 sockets, 3 sockets, 4, 5, and so on. Okay, so this is another important thing to remember. So let me add more elements to my, so again, edit circuit. Okay, I can add elements to it, but look, if I add more circuits, sorry, more sockets, especially those like large ones, edit circuit, add to circuit, bum, and that basically it's telling me that already that the total connected load for circuit 1 is exceeding 80% of the defined rating, 20 amperes, which tells me that, of course, it's not about, in Revit and electrical design, Revit, it's not just about placing these, let's say, families and connecting everyone in a circuit, but it also has some intelligence behind that tells me that, you know, I cannot add too many elements into one, let's say, into one circuit. So I'm gonna maybe, let me remove, so let's keep them here, finish circuit. And what I can also do here is I can add a, of course, because I will, here I'm entering this room and I need a switch, right? So I'm gonna again go to device, lightning, and I'm gonna create a switch, okay, which again has either, well, let's say if I increase the you see, it's again, it's just a again a simple element, but it exists as a 3D element object in axonometric view and just a symbolic element in a plan view, right? So let me turn on the coarse view. And so what the very important thing is that I can name this switch, and I can name the switch as, for example, zone 1 or whatever, space Z07, like it's named here. I have to name it manually, okay? Apply. I hit my again edit circuit. Sorry, I'm gonna do something else. I hit on my switch, power, edit circuit. So this one will, sorry, before I need to create a, sorry, of course. So if you have the switch, I need to first create a switch system, which is create, yeah, I have to basically remove that before. I should be able to create a switch. Because this should give me, wait, let me do it again, repeat that, because I should be able to see which elements are connected to which switch. Okay, so this is important that it works. Z07. I'm missing some icon here. Sorry for that, but it looks very weird. It should connect immediately to sorry, that's my mistake, of course. Sorry. So basically, what I have to do is to select elements that I want to connect to switch. So basically, here, let me create two switches so you understand what is happening here. Okay, so I have two switches. So let me turn. So I'm selecting a lightning fixture, hit on switch. Okay, edit switch system. And I'm going to add these two elements, okay? and then select switch, and here, finish editing. Here I can again switch, let's say switch first of Z07, okay, and then here I'm gonna select switch 2 of Z, that's the name of the space, Z07, right? And I'm gonna do this here. Switch system, edit switch system, bum, up, select switch, and here. Finish editing system, right? So it already, if I hit there, it's already basically assigned and a switch ID to a element, okay? So let me, and by the way, if I again open, right, my system browser, I can understand that these elements are being connected to each other, right? So which and of course, if I do this, repeat the same here, I'm gonna, let's say that I'm gonna use only one switch here. Here, again, power, edit circuit. Of course, here I have to add a new panel board. Okay. Again, the tab here, edit circuit, select panel, finish, switch, edit switch system 1, 2, 3, 4, select switch here, finish editing system, right? Finish, right? So it's in one. It has to be, the switch also has to be in one system, of course. One more thing. Of course, don't forget to put the name of the switch ID, right? So switch 1 in Z09. Apply. Okay. And here I can see immediately that I have, right? I have two circuits with these elements included in the circuits, right? So what I can do else with that, I can go and say, first of all, I can make a schedule. And this is very, very, very cool, because if I go and say, I want to schedule, okay, let me schedule lamps for lighting fixtures. Okay, this is standard, you know, Revit feature, nothing here, nothing, let's say, very, very difficult. Okay, and then I can schedule, for example, the circuit number. I can schedule the family and type, so I can know what kind of lighting fixtures are there. I can schedule the panel. What else? Sorry, not electrical fixtures. I want to lighting fixtures, of course, because what I need to know, I want to see on the schedule. I want to see the switch ID, of course. Lighting fixtures, not electric fixtures. Okay, so I want circuit number, family and type, switch ID, which is important. Yeah, let me schedule just these. So if I schedule them, immediately I see that I have some elements, and by the way, he also recognizes that there are two lights which are not connected to any switch, right? Which is also very, let's say, very important influence on, you know, if I have my project, you know, if everything is coherent in my project. By the way, what I can also do is, if I go back, you can see that, for example, by the way, yeah, if I hit select here, he also highlights which circuit I have selected. What I can also do here is that I can change the ID, the ID number of my circuit. So it tells me edit circuit 1. So it basically I want to keep them there is some way to change the ID number so it doesn't repeat 1 and 1. But anyways, let me combine them so I can see, for example, my plan view, right, and my schedule, so I can understand that, for example, this and this, they're immediately highlighted, right? So I can see immediately which of them are disconnected. What I can also do here in the scheduling, of course, is that I can sort them. So for example, I can by switch ID as a header, okay, without the footer. So I can do something like that, right? So it tells me basically which switches are connected to which switches are controlling which lights, right? What I can also do, let me maybe turn this off. I can also create a schedule of electrical fixtures, which is also very, very cool. But before that, I want to show you something. So this socket actually has something very, very important, because amongst the parameters, if I scroll down, I forgot to show it to you at the beginning, it also has a type image. Remember, if you assign a type image, you can assign basically the you can assign JPEGs, so that the images, okay, which will be relevant to each socket or group of sockets or series of sockets. What is also important is that these JPEGs are basically they are sitting inside the family. Okay, so you don't have to. You don't have to worry about migrating them with the family. Once you set them here, they are here forever in the family. So what I can do here, I can also go to schedule. I can schedule the electrical fixtures. I can ask him to schedule family and type, circuit number, and type image. Image type, where is that? Electrical fixtures, once again, view, schedule, electrical fixtures, okay. Let's say circuit number, family and type, image, type image. Sorry, remember that this is not image, but type image. Okay, so these three. If I hit OK, okay, right now I don't see that much here. It's not really visible. But if I go and open a sheet, okay, A0 for example, and I'm gonna drop my floor 1. What I can also do, I can go to my schedule, and if I drop it here, it immediately shows me the JPEG. Okay, this is really, really cool, because I can immediately see that I have and by the way, there are some sockets which are connected to, only 2 of them are connected to circuit number 1, right? So this one, as you remember, I wasn't able to connect the rest of them, so it tells me that immediately. But what I can also do is, so this is cool, because basically if I start changing, for example, I hit here and I want to change from 3 to, again, to 2, right, for example. So this is being automatically, of course, updated on my schedule. All right, so you can see, and of course you can do this kind of thing with any kind of Revit family. It's not only for the sockets. What I can also do, of course, to avoid this repetition, so I can basically sort my schedule so it tells me type image, header, totals only. So yeah, and then I can, for example, ask him to tell me that, okay, I want footer counts and totals, okay, and then, so I have it like this, 3 of them and 2 of them, and just to avoid repeating these JPEGs, okay, because if I go back to my schedule, to my sheet, sorry, it repeats again, right? So every picture is being repeated. And if I go back to my schedule again, electrical fixture schedule, I can in sorting and grouping, I can turn off the itemize every instance, so I see them in this way. Right, so I have 3 of them, 3 of these, and 2 of these, right? Okay, so one more thing I want to show you before we... yeah, so basically what I want also to present you today is that you can also design quite easily. Let me create a section here. Go to view, okay, and what I can do here is I can start creating a circuit, sorry, a conduit. So if you go to systems, I can go to conduit, or you can also do something like draw conduit from face. If you right click, if you basically right click here, draw conduit from face, and you can decide that, for example, I want to start to draw from here, finish connection, and I can immediately start placing conduits here, okay. If you turn on the visibility to, I have to turn on the view template, none, okay. So if you turn on the quality, so what I can do here is, for example, I can start to do parallel conduits with concentric band radius. Let me use the, let me do 4. Horizontal offset will be 150. Okay, so you can do this kind of things, and then as we are in Revit, remember to draw always, to use sections that can, and the sections basically can help you to draw these conduits. So, but the cool thing is that actually I can, I'm quite flexible, and let me just show you something. So if I, for example, let me turn off the schedule, the sheet, I'm gonna just open in 2 views. I see my 3D view can be also turned off. I see my plan view and my section view, so I select this guy here, come back here, draw conduit, and if I again do this something like systems, parallel conduits, go back here, he remembers my selection from before, and of course the thing is that I have to somehow make the space for these let me align them as well. Okay, select, you know, the lower one, go back here, snapping, draw. I have to go a little bit, create more space because it doesn't have, so draw conduit. Okay, I have to Okay, you have to also remember that he has to have some space in order to connect the elements, right? Draw conduit. Of course, now I will not be able, so up to here and up to here. Draw conduit. And let me, oops, that's not the one to do. And let me select this guy as well. So from here, draw conduit, and here just connect up to here. Okay, and if you open the 3D view, you can see that you can really create something like this in a relatively short amount of time. Remember that also that if I go here, I can also draw a cable trace. If you measure what is the space here for between and here, I have 45, so let's make this with 600, and you can continue to draw them here and so on. And by the way, this one is draw cable tray. So if you turn left, right, if you hit here on this little, right, if you hit here on this little, if you hit on the bend, you can also hit on this plus, so you can start drawing them. Draw cable tray. And remember that in Revit it's really easy to draw, right? So, and of course I can schedule these elements as well, right? Like exactly like I scheduled everything which you saw before. So if I, for example, let me create a section view here, go to view, remember that I have sometimes it's better to turn off the templates, sometimes not, depending on what you do. And here I can select all my and you can continue to draw. Okay, so maybe one more thing before we pass to the questions. I hope I will be able to answer some of your questions. If you go to analyze, you can also do something like panel schedules. There are some templates for these panel schedules, and what it does is creates you basically this kind of let's say summary of these elements which you schedule. It's from my experience in Poland, it's not really, I'm not sure about Romania, but in Poland this is not really being used very often. So, but it exists. So, just to let you know. Okay, so questions. We have a couple minutes left, but I will be very happy to answer all your questions. The first question: will this session be available later for download? Yes, of course it will be. It's being recorded and it will be available for download so you can repeat all the stuff. There's one question about the wires, of course, and remember that wires in I forgot to do that actually. So remember that wires here in Revit are not in 3D. So what we can do here is we can only we can do this schematic schematic view of the wires. However, even though they are schematic, you can later on schedule a total length of wires. Okay, so if I go to view, schedule, quantities, and it was somewhere here, I don't remember right now, but it tells me also the I think it's an electrical circuit because it's related to circuit. So if I go OK, circuit number, wire size, wire type, length, I think it's this one. Yeah. So basically it tells me that the total length of the wire that is needed in millimeters, of course, which is needed for, and of course it's approximated, right? It tells me more or less how I need for that. I don't have a 3D wires here, of course, in Revit. However, you can think about, if you really want, it's really necessary, you can think about using the conduits to draw a wires. Remember that you can of course change here their radius, so it's all parameterized, it's all flexible, so you can adjust them to your what you need. But wires in general, the tool called wires is not in 3D. Okay, so it seems like no more questions here. I will wait until the end of. Okay, there's one more question. Hello. For example, I want to put on my design Philips Coreline 2 lightning source. I have to create them or make them from manufacturer library. Dialogues have this option. So basically, yes. So if you want to place? So if you go to a Philips homepage, there's what I've seen there. There's quite a lot of also Revit families. So there's a lot of manufacturers which are publishing for free on their web pages Revit families with already IES files. So these files, right? So if you open the family, so this one, the photometric web file, right? This one is included with the family, so you can basically you don't have to create them on your own. Sometimes you will have to, if you don't find, because it can happen that you don't find the type of lightning fish that you're looking for, right? But in general, there's a lot of content in internet for free or paid with this kind of information. And remember that, Revit cannot be really compared to dialogues, okay? It's because what you see here, right? It's a very, very so this scale is a very, very it's very average, right? So average estimated illumination in this room. Okay, so this doesn't have the same quality of analysis like dialogues has. Revit just doesn't have this kind of let's say precision in measuring the light quality in the room. There was also a question. So for junction boxes for lightning, all this kind of junction boxes can be. So again, you're absolutely right. Here I didn't place any junction box, but what you will need to create is to go to device and create them exactly as a lighting fixture, electrical fixture, like a socket. Okay, so and then these elements can be also play a role of a junction box. There is one more question. How can I draw the size of cable trace when I prepare the paper for print? How can I draw size of cable trace when I prepare the paper for print? I don't really understand this question. You mean how this? Remember that I'm not sure if this is the answer for answering your question, but of course these elements are in all elements in Revit are in 1:1 to scale, right? So if my drawing is 1:50 and I open my A1 sheet, right, then it's being drawn in 1:50. I'm not sure if it's answering your question, but maybe if you ask the question again, maybe I'll understand a little better. There is another question. Hello, with Magic Cat electrical extension, can I design wires in 3D? Actually, I don't know because I don't know Magic Cat. This is, third-party software from Finland. I've heard very positive opinions about that software, but I'm not that sure about if you can do that. Maybe yes, maybe not. I don't know. You have to find it. You have to verify on your own. There was another question. I can see somewhere the uniformity of main lighting. Yes, this is uniform because it's estimated illumination. So Revit here does not have. So basically, remember that if you want to see much more precise lighting, this is not actually the topic for this webinar, but remember that remember that you can create a 3D. So look, I'm gonna create a view and a perspective view. And remember that what you can do in Revit, you can go to view and you can render in cloud. And what you can do in Revit, please go to site knowledge.autodesk.com and you can see there are some articles about how to create a lighting analysis in Revit or illumination analysis. Because what you can do illuminance, okay? And this illuminance will be created based on the IES files extracted from these lighting fixtures, okay? Is it available Revit only for electrical systems? No. I mean, you can, if you don't like, you can, of course, if you don't want to see all these tabs, there was somewhere in options that you can turn them off. User interface, yeah, here, tools and analysis, you can turn off, for example, structure and mechanical if you don't want, right? So it can turn to be only for electrical systems. There was some nice comments that I'm doing a great job. Thank you for your appreciation. Okay, so maybe one more question I can answer. There is a question one more. Is it mandatory to create panel for every circuit in each room? No, it's not necessary, because if you want, for example, to create so let me insert, let's say, two more lights, and I'm gonna insert one more switch, for example. I can create a switch system, edit switch system, and these elements, select switch. Yeah, I can create, for example, only a switch system, so I don't need to connect them to the panel. Is it mandatory to create panel for every circuit and in each room and to add more circuits? Yeah, as you can see here, I'm not sure if it is here answering your question, but the panel is not necessary. Panel is rather to see if the loads of the elements that are connected to the circuits are being balanced, right? Okay, so I think we are good. We are getting to the end of this webinar. This webinar is recorded, so you'll be able to get the video, the recording from it, and you'll be able to repeat this on your own. Remember, I was working on a German template, so you don't have to worry about any other, let's say, basically you can start even from today to use it if you're fine with the fact that we are using the German elements. There was one more question, and now if you create a spreadsheet with it, add a new circuit to the calculation, current, tension, etc. I'm not sure. I cannot answer this question, actually. Because, actually, if I'm not creating a circuit, I cannot calculate anything, because this is a... Because, look, I have something like power, and it's not... It's a kind of like an unassigned. Right? So, if you do not add it to the circuit, it cannot be calculated, of course. Balance cannot be balanced, to be more precise. Okay, there's where do I download this presentation? You'll get an email, because I have to compile this video, so it's not like very heavy. So it will be a little bit. The quality will be like quite nice. So you'll be able to see all the icons, but after the webinar, the software, which is basically what I'm using here to broadcast, will somehow compress the video, so it's not that big, and so you get the link to download it. Okay, so I think it's the end of our webinar. Thank you very much for attending. I hope that you enjoyed that, and in this short amount of time you could learn something new, and I think that you found it useful. And see you to the next webinar. Have a great day. Goodbye.